Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. And we are back here with our, holistic, inspirational coach, Reiki master, and friend, Dr. Laura Griffith Garland, joining us here. Where are you joining us from today?
I'm actually in Lake Lure, North Carolina.
Beautiful. She's outside, by the way. We're live on Zoom as well. What's the temperature there?
It is, I think, in the low 70s, I think. Or
Beautiful.
maybe upper 60. I'm not sure.
Well, it's great to see her vibrantly bright. We're in cold New York still, but maybe like 40, so it's getting warmer here. But you're from South Carolina, correct? And the name of your company is?
Charleston Reiki and Tarot.
Perfect. So she's from Charleston on a little vacation here, and she's here, of course, doing her work, and she's got a beautiful necklace on today as well. That's like a crystal or something?
Yes, it's just a crystal.
Beautiful. Well, welcome to the show. Introduce yourself if you don't mind, and we'll get started.
Sure. I am a holistic inspiration coach. I'm also a shamanic Reiki master, and I'm trying to help people thrive instead of just survive, which we've been doing a heck of a lot of the last 2 years.
Yeah, for sure.
One of the reasons we're on vacation is I surprised my husband with a late birthday present.
Aww.
It's been a really rough start for the year for him. He's a mental health counselor, and it's been a rough 2 years for a lot of his clients. And so he cares so deeply that it's just been rough for him too. So I tried to let him get away every 2 to 3 months at the most, because it is just really tough. The mental health counselors out there, a lot of them are leaving the profession. The same with the doctors and nurses, because it's just been such a rough 2 years. And a lot of people haven't had the ability to get away. We're so lucky that I had a thing come across on my feed, and I was like, we're going.
Aww.
Yeah, and just really, mental health is so important, and stress relief is so very important for people. And we haven't been able to get away a lot. We're out in the middle of nowhere, so COVID, whatever. There's someone here, so it's really just been lovely. And I highly recommend anybody, if you haven't been able to get away, please, when you can do that, it's so very important. The US takes probably the least vacation of anybody in the world. And it's actually detrimental. They pre-COVID, they had determined something like there was $50 million in lost productivity just because people didn't take a vacation.
Yeah.
So that's my little plug for vacations.
Good. I'm with you on that. Great. Makes you feel good. I hear that wind blowing. It's beautiful.
I can work on vacation as long as I've got Wi-Fi. I can work on vacation. Yeah. My husband can't. His license, they don't have a national counselor license. It's state by state, and so if he's out of the state, he can't work.
Yeah.
Which is good. That's why I got out of the state. But into our topic today. I did my cards, a little bit different set of cards because I didn't bring my normal cards with me. I brought a tarot deck that I had gotten this past fall, and pulled some. And today's cards were Service 2, Emotions, and Integrity. So I was really thinking about this beforehand, and the Service 2 was the first that came up. And what I'm going to ask is, who or what are you serving? So are you serving your highest good? Are you serving a taskmaster, whether it be internal or external? Or are you serving something maybe a little darker, we'll call it? Personally, that might be an addiction.
Yeah.
but it might be a boss or a company or an elder who does not create but tears down.
Yeah.
And in everything that's happening with Ukraine, they have an elder who is tearing down in Russia right now, you know. And so a number of the Russian troops apparently are not particularly happy with who they're serving and what's going on. Whereas apparently the Ukrainian leader, is he a prime minister? I think so. Yeah. It has been apparently very influential in a good way for raising the morale of his people. So who and what are you in service to? And then that led me to think, well, how do you know whether what you're in service to is something that's a higher good or whether it's not so much, and you're sitting here wondering what's happening.
Yeah.
And that's when I realized that really the emotions are what come into play.
Yeah.
So if when you think about what's going on and what you're doing, it has a higher vibration emotion, so love being the highest vibration, but joy or gratitude or peace or inspiration, even amusement, awe, and curiosity, if it has any of those emotions, then you're serving something that's building things up.
Yeah.
Whether it's building you up or other people up or the world up or whatever, but it's an emotion of building as opposed to an emotion of tearing down. And so I was thinking about that. So if whatever you're doing gives you one of those emotions, one of these higher vibration emotions, then you can probably say that what you're doing and how you're acting is for a good of some variety. Yeah. But when you think about what is going on, what you're doing or how things are going on, and you're getting one of the other emotions, one of the worst being fear, but then there's anger and disgust and jealousy, sadness, regret, guilt, and hate. If you got any of those emotions going on, then it's a tear down. And whatever's going on is tearing at least you down, if not those around you or the world or whatever. So I was really just thinking here, if you've got the one set of emotions, we're building up, the other set of emotions, and we're tearing down. And if you're in a situation where it's hard to get out of where stuff is being torn down, that's when you go for help. It may be a life coach like myself. So you may go to a coach because you don't have a diagnosable condition, so you don't need to go to a mental health counselor. You don't need to see my husband. But maybe it's a life circumstance. So you need someone to help you work through that life circumstance so that you can get into a better position. Maybe you feel like you're trapped in a job, but it's your own mind. We get stuck in our own loops in our own head. And so when we do that, getting an outside perspective can be really helpful. And sometimes friends can be a great outside perspective, but sometimes even they are too close to what's going on. So working with a coach is an excellent way to get that outside perspective to help build yourself back up. Maybe your confidence, maybe your self-esteem has gotten so smashed with whatever's been going on that you can't even imagine a way out. And so a life coach of some variety is what can really help build yourself back up so that you can get to a place where you can imagine a better future. And until you can imagine a better future, you can't pull it towards you, because it is law of attraction. And so if you're in all of this being torn down, it's really hard to imagine that better place so that you can draw the better place to you to get out of whatever's tearing you down.
Got it.
And then there's integrity. So and this happens, there's personal integrity, there's professional integrity. So if you're in an addiction place, so you're serving an addiction master of some sort, which could be sugar. Sugar is an addiction, which is not great for you, actually. I'm going to be absolutely straight with people here. Sugar is the root of many chronic diseases. Okay, sugar and those real simple carbs that we've all heard about. So because they break down into sugar right away. So it is the cause of so many inflammation diseases in the body. So sugar is not a great addiction. As far as things that I do, do I do sugar occasionally? Yeah. I do sugar, I do chocolate, and I do a little bit of caffeine. Those are my addictions, but I know that they're drugs, because they are. Sugar, chocolate, and caffeine are drugs. I know they're drugs, and I know when I'm doing it. I'm very conscious of it. So that's a difference there, in that I limit the amount that I do that, so that it's not really to the addiction point, although caffeine might be, because I do it every day.
The truth is, I have pods of decaf and regular. I just go by the flavor. Caffeine, I don't feel it affect me, even though it's bad, but I don't have like I could drink either one. I just like the taste of the coffee, but you're right. I should probably be doing more decaf than the regular, but okay. I'm guilty. It happens.
Yeah, it happens.
Perfect.
I like my tea in the morning. I like my tea. And in the winter in particular, I like a black tea. In the summer, I'll do green tea, which is a third or less of the caffeine. But in the winter, I like my black tea. I like the flavor. It is a flavor thing. And can I get it decaf? Actually, the variety I like, I haven't found decaf on it. So, but if there is something like that, personal integrity, I know that I do sugar, caffeine, and chocolate. I know that it's a personal choice when I do it. So integrity is about being congruent between what you say and what you do. And I admit, I do these things. I know how much I do, and I'm very cognizant of that. So personal integrity, walk your talk. I don't tell my clients to completely stop sugar. I don't tell my clients to completely stop caffeine. I don't tell my clients to stop chocolate. I tell them to be super cognizant of what they're doing when they do that.
Wow.
Some people don't do well with caffeine at all. My husband, oh Lord, please don't feed him caffeine. Don't feed the things after midnight. No, just don't feed him caffeine at all. He doesn't do caffeine well. It really jacks him up. His mother's the same way. So it's obviously some sort of genetic trait that they have. They can't do caffeine. Not good for them. Makes them really jittery. Even if it's just one cup of coffee, super jittery. Like he can do a cup of green tea, but he's still jacked up with that. Me, a cup of green tea, whatever. But so it's a lot about knowing what you can do, being cognizant of what you can do, paying attention, and again, walking your talk. If you say to people when you're out, "Oh, I can't do caffeine," and then you go and do it.
You're like, yeah.
Oops, not integrity there.
Mhm.
That's hypocrisy. So luckily he doesn't do that.
Uh-huh.
But there are people out there who might. You know, I know a lot of people who are like out in public, oh, I don't do dessert. But
There.
then you go to their house.
They indulge like cake.
You go to their house and you open the freezer or something to get some ice, and they're, you know, ice cream. You open the
Love
cabinet,
ice cream.
cookie.
Look, I say I don't do dessert because usually if I go out to dinner, I get so full. I don't do dessert on dinner nights because I save it. It's like one or the other. Either I'll indulge
Yeah.
in a lot of dessert, or if I'm going out to dinner, my stomach physically has no room for dessert. Although I would like it, but at that point I'm sick usually. But
Yeah. I understand. We did that last night.
Oh, I'm sure.
We got takeout, well, carry out from a lovely restaurant in the area, and the portion was so large. I was thinking, oh, I'll do dessert. No, there was
Yeah.
no way to do dessert at all. But again, it's the integrity part here, because when you aren't honest and honorable with yourself, you know it, and then you start feeling some of those more negative emotions.
Mhm.
Okay, guilt is really a corrosive emotion. I'm going to call it corrosive. Guilt inside and regret are two really corrosive emotions that, depending, Louise Hay years ago wrote it was one of her first books, about the relationship between emotions and body parts and disease.
Mhm.
Very, very lovely. I think she has since passed. She'd be in her late 80s, if she's still alive. I believe she has. But very, very lovely book, and talks about the relationship between guilt and regret and cancer. There's a lot out there with that. So those are two emotions. It's not talked about in mainstream. Those are two emotions that when you listen to the anecdotes from people, those are emotions that show up a lot. So these are not emotions we want. And when we're not having integrity with ourselves, when we are serving some sort of addiction or serving some sort of taskmaster that's not for our high good, that's tearing us down, not building us up, we get that guilt and that regret. And those literally corrode in your body. And it's not good. So that's why we want to have integrity. Integrity is an old-fashioned word at this point, it seems like. It's not talked about very much. When I was in the military, integrity as an officer, a naval officer, is super important. It's one of the things that a naval officer is supposed to, one of the founding principles. But now, you just don't hear people talk about it. And it really, like I said, when you not have integrity with yourself, you create these corrosive emotions. You also create situations where people can't trust you. And that's not a good feeling. When people don't trust you, it's not a good feeling. So you want to have personal integrity. You want to have professional integrity. And that is particularly something that seems to have disappeared quite a bit, is the professional integrity. Lots of businesses, lots of companies that are all about tearing stuff down. It's all about the bottom line, the dollar for the investors or whatever. It's not about the integrity within the company, and helping the employees and making sure that that what is going on within the company is good, and what the company is doing has integrity. It becomes tough to work with a company like that, and there's so many out there. Although I have to say that probably anecdotally, a lot of millennials in particular, Gen X, also some Gen Z, but they aren't quite to that place yet. A lot of them starting companies are really thinking of the integrity much more because they have looked at this what's been going on, and are just like, okay, this we cannot, it's not sustainable. We cannot continue. We end up feeling very broken down, very, very much broken down. And hypocrisy, we see it and we let it pass. And I think that's breaking down our the level of society a bit. And again, what's our service to? Are we serving something that's building everybody up, or are we serving something that's tearing us all down?
Yeah.
And it's just cruelty. We've had a lot of that out there recently. People just being really cruel to each other. It's not a good space. And when you're cruel to other people, your personal integrity is being interrupted. Now, some people were raised that cruelty is the way to exist, and that's a very sad situation.
Yeah,
that's a very, very sad situation. Cruelty and injustice seem to be some people's values, which is a little terrifying for the world.
Yeah.
Where we have a segment of the population where that seems to be the value that they have, is being cruel is good. And I'm like, wait. I'm pretty sure that actually I can't think of a single religion out there that says cruelty is good. I can't think of one. So I'm pretty sure no matter what you picture as divine, I'm pretty sure that they're not down with cruelty and injustice.
Yeah.
So again, there's that hypocrisy. People say they follow this whatever form of God, divine they follow, and then their value is cruelty and injustice. And I'm like, oh dear, integrity. And that leads to those corrosive emotions. Hate and fear. Fear is one of the biggest emotions out there that messes everything up.
Yeah.
Because we fear things we don't necessarily understand.
True.
People who are different, ideas that are different, and the fear is what drives a lot of the other negative emotions. People think the opposite of love is hate, but I think it's actually fear.
Yeah. Wow.
I think the opposite of love is fear, because when you love, fear has, you can't fear. When you love something, when you love people, fear doesn't play in at all. It just dissipates. But when you have fear, it's almost impossible to love. And so I think those are more opposites than love and hate, actually. I know that sounds a little odd, but it's the way that it feels, because fear makes hate.
Okay.
I think, because when you fear stuff, you then can jump over to that.
Over to it, yeah.
Yeah. And then again, we go back to the integrity, any of those, you're not having that. And then what are you serving if you hate fear and all of that? Who are you listening to that's causing the fear? What beliefs do you have? And then we'll jump back to emotions briefly and talk about repressed emotions.
Yeah.
Because I don't think I've ever heard of anybody saying that they've uncovered repressed joy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't think I've ever heard that.
Yeah.
Oh, I uncovered repressed joy today. Nope, don't think I've ever heard that one. I've uncovered repressed sadness or repressed guilt, repressed hate, repressed jealousy. Jealousy is another corrosive emotion.
Mm-hmm.
Jealousy comes out of fear, usually a fear of lack of some sort. You lack whatever they have. So a fear of lack. And so, but repressed emotions, again, put us in service to things that tear us down. Because no matter what the emotion is and how much you've repressed it, it's gonna come up. And then you play whack-a-mole with it. Because it'll pop up somewhere in some way. And then you just whack it down, right? And when it popped up, it made a mess of your life in some variety. Made some mess. You whack it down and kind of smooth stuff out for a little bit. And then it pops up somewhere else. And whoops, you whack that one down. But at the same time, it made a mess over there. So repressed emotions, you got to get those out. If it's due to trauma of some sort, please go see a counselor for that. If it's just some interpersonal BS that you just pushed, and it's not to the level of a trauma, and not to the level that you have to see a counselor, see a coach, you can see me. And work on pulling that up so you're no longer playing whack-a-mole and having your life blow up on you every 6 months, 2 months, 3 months, whatever the heck it is that you're playing whack-a-mole with. So really, I know we went deep today on this, but these are important concepts.
Yeah.
And who and what are you in service to? If you want to know, figure out, look at what emotions are surrounding it. If they're emotions of happiness and joy, then it's probably building you up. If they're emotions of fear, anger, angst, whatever, it's gonna be tearing you down.
Absolutely.
By the way, pleasure could go either way on that one. So you got to be careful with the emotion of pleasure, because you could be feeding your addiction.
Yep.
With something that's pleasurable. So you do have to watch that emotion. But and then integrity, personal integrity is where it starts. Walk your walk, walk your talk. Just and here's the thing about integrity. It doesn't mean being perfect. Absolutely not. It just means being very cognizant of what you're doing, and when you don't meet a mark that you wanted to meet, acknowledge that with yourself. And if it had happened to be an interpersonal interaction with someone else and that didn't meet that mark, acknowledge it with them. That's integrity.
Wow.
So,
and I think the nice weather, being outside, the sound of the birds, the wind, you seem very at peace today, very calm, and if we all had a little bit of that in each of us, maybe it's time to step out, like you said, and get out, whether it's a vacation or just getting outside. Do wonders, right?
Nature is awesome. We did a 4-mile hike yesterday, and it just helped so much.
Wow. Well, thank you for being here, and give us your best form of contact.
You can call me at 843-259-8349. Direct email, drlaura.coach@gmail. So that's DRLAURA.COACH.
And leave us with some amazing wisdom today. Go ahead.
Know that you can love yourself.
Yep.
You can love others. No matter where you are right now, you can build yourself up and do that.
Beautifully said. I agree. You have a great day.
You too.
Thank you again so much, and looking forward to the next time we speak. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you can now listen live on the MyTuner Radio and online Radio Box apps for iOS, Android, and the Amazon App Store. Or check us out online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com or search Podcast Business News Network on onlineradiobox.com/US so you don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
Mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.